I took this job because I needed quiet. No people, no calls, just silence and floors to mop. The place was old, built sometime in the 70s, maybe earlier. It had that smell like concrete, and dust had been arguing for decades. On the first 3 nights, nothing happened. But on the fourth, I noticed something strange. A door at the far end of the hallway. It wasn't on the blueprint. It wasn't on the map they gave me. It simply was. I stood there, just staring at it. The door didn't look new, didn't look old either, just forgotten. Like it had been there long before the building, waiting. There was no handle, no lock, just a blank surface and chipped paint. I got closer. Something about it felt wrong, not dangerous, but wrong in the way a silence can scream. That night, I asked the night manager about it. He paused, spoon halfway to his mouth, then smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "There's no door there," he said. I laughed. I thought he was joking, but he wasn't. He went back to his food like the conversation never happened. I didn't sleep that day. The next night, the door was open, just a crack, but enough to see blackness inside. Not darkness, but blackness, like something was absorbing the light. I didn't go in. I just stood there, breathing shallow, watching the open sliver and feeling like something inside was watching back. On my way out, I turned back one last time. The door was shut again. No sound, no click, just shut. The hallway was silent, but it wasn't empty. I could feel that now, like the building was holding its breath, like it was waiting for me to make a decision. The next time I passed it, I touched the door just to see. It was warm, not like metal should be at night, not room temperature either. It felt like something was breathing behind it, something alive. My hand stayed there longer than I meant to, until a noise behind me made me pull away. It was just a bucket. Fell over from the wind maybe, but when I looked back, the door was ajar. Again, only this time the blackness wasn't empty. It had shape, a figure. I couldn't see details, but it was there, standing, still, watching. I backed away, slowly. The figure didn't move. I turned the corner and ran, locked myself in the supply room, sat there in the dark with cleaning chemicals and that buzzing fluorescent light. I stayed until morning. No one asked why I skipped the rest of my shift. The following night, I told myself I imagined it. Stress, shadows, fatigue. But the door wasn't closed anymore, it was wide open. And the hallway smelled different now, like wet earth, like something had been buried and then dug back up. There were footsteps coming from inside. Slow, barefoot, each one sticking slightly to the floor, like it wasn't just walking, it was remembering how. I didn't wait to see what came out. I turned, left my cart behind, and walked out into the night. That day I stayed awake. I kept replaying the sound in my head, each step, slow, wet, intentional. I tried to find a reason, a logical one, but the place had no plumbing behind that wall. No pipes, no ventilation, nothing. Just that door and whatever was behind it. When I came in that night, the hallway light was out. Just that section, just the part with the door. The rest of the complex was fully lit. It was like the building had made a choice, like it wanted me to come closer, but alone. This time I brought a flashlight. I told myself it was just for safety, but really, I needed to see the shape again. That figure, that thing. I had to know if it was still there, or if it ever was. Sometimes not knowing is worse. The door was open again, wide this time, and inside tiled walls like a locker room. Old, stained, fluorescent light buzzing above, flickering every few seconds. No windows, no sound, just a bench in the center and lockers that looked like no one had touched them in years. I stepped inside. Every instinct told me not to, but I did. Yeah, the air was thick, wet, and cold. My boots echoed softly on the tile. I didn't call out. Didn't want to know if anything would answer. I just walked slowly between the rows. I reached the last row of lockers. They looked older here. More rust. One had a dent, like something had hit it from the inside. The number tag was missing, just a blank metal plate. I stared at it for a while, then slowly reached out to open it. It was empty, but the metal inside was warm, just like the door had been. I touched the back panel. It made a hollow sound, like there was space behind it, a narrow space, too narrow for anything unless it was crawling. The light flickered again. For a split second, I thought I saw movement behind me, not a reflection, a shadow that wasn't mine. I didn't turn around. I closed the locker slowly and backed away toward the exit. Halfway to the door, the lights went out. All of them, not a flicker, a cut, pure darkness. I stood still, holding my breath. I can hear something breathing too. Not close, but not far either. Like it was choosing when. Then a single locker creaked open. Not slammed, not banged, just creaked like it had been waiting for years to breathe. I turned on my flashlight slowly. The beam shook in my hand. And what it landed on wasn't empty. It wasn't a person, at least not anymore. Skin pale like wet paper, eyes too wide like they'd been open for too long. Its head tilted slightly, following the light, not blinking, not moving, just watching. I dropped the flashlight. The beam spun across the room, landing on the wall. And then the figure was gone. Just gone. I didn't wait. I ran, not looking back, not thinking. I just ran. I didn't stop until I was outside in the cold air. I leaned against the wall, trying to breathe, trying to convince myself I imagined it. That fear makes things up, but my hand was still warm from touching the inside of that locker. I didn't quit the job. I needed the money, but I changed my route. I never walked near that door again. I avoided it like it was alive, and maybe it was. Days passed, then weeks. Nothing happened, no sounds, no movement, just silence. It almost felt normal again, almost. Until one night I heard the intercom crackle, a sound like whispering, low, broken. It didn't call my name, it just said, "Come back." Once, then silence. I told myself it was interference, a prank, maybe even my imagination, but the voice, it was the same tone I'd heard behind me that night, the breath. So I made a plan. I set up cameras, 3 of them, one in the hallway, one by the door, and one inside the room. I needed proof, something real, something I could hold on to or run from. The first 2 nights, nothing, just dust and silence. But the third night, the hallway camera cut out for 12 minutes, static. And when it came back on, the door was open. The other 2 cameras never came back online, just black screens. I checked the room in the morning. The bench was moved, and on the tile, a wet handprint dragged. There were scratch marks on the inside of the locker, and not fresh, but deep, like claws or nails dragged again and again. My flashlight flickered, and for a split second, I thought I saw movement deeper inside, but it was gone before I could focus. I stepped back again. That's when I heard the whisper. It wasn't in English, it wasn't any language I knew, but it felt directed at me. like a breath just behind my ear, chilling my spine. I turned the flashlight toward the rows again and saw nothing. One night, I dreamed of it, the locker room, but this time it was deeper, endless. Row after row of lockers stretching into black. I was walking, but never reaching the end. And behind me, footsteps. Wet, I turned around in the dream, finally. And it wasn't a person, it wasn't even a shape, just dark, moving dark, like the room itself had taken form, like memory had grown teeth. I woke up sweating, and my window was open. I never open it, ever. It was just slightly ajar, enough to let in a draft or something else. I shut it, locked it, and stood there, listening. The dreams kept coming. Each time I got further into the locker room, each time the light died earlier, I began to map it in my mind. It felt like it was guiding me deeper into something old, something buried. I looked up the building's blueprints. The locker room, it wasn't listed, not anywhere, as if it had never been there, as if it didn't want to be known. Yeah, I contacted the architect. He was old, said he'd only drawn what they told him. When I mentioned the hallway, he went silent, then hung up. I never heard from him again. That night, the static on my TV changed. It wasn't random anymore. There were patterns, shapes, like lockers, like something crawling across them. I unplugged the TV, pulled the plug out of the wall. The static kept going, no signal, but it was still playing. The same shapes, the same pattern, only now it looked closer. I smashed the screen, glass everywhere, silence. But when I looked closer, that the inside wasn't just wires, it was hollow, deep, like a tunnel, and it was wet. After that, I stopped sleeping. I drank coffee until my hands shook. Every noise felt like it was from the locker room. The hallway, that impossible place, had followed me home. Then it stopped. The dreams, the sounds, gone. A full week of silence. I almost believed it was over. Almost. On the 8th day, I found a locker key in my mailbox. No note, no envelope, just the key. Cold, rusted, number 0. I didn't want to go back, I really didn't, but the dreams returned, worse now. I saw things crawling between the lockers, and I heard whispering. It knew I had the key. I arrived at the complex after hours, climbed the fence so the door wasn't locked. The hallway was lit, but not by bulbs. It glowed like the building remembered me. This time, the locker room was different, bigger, or deeper. I couldn't tell. The floor was damp, lockers taller, and at the far end was one with a glowing 0. I walked toward it. Every step felt heavier. The air grew thick, buzzing like pressure building. My ears popped. I reached the locker, inserted the key, turned. Inside wasn't space. It was light, blinding, not warm, sharp, like needles of white cutting into vision. And I felt it watching. No eyes, just presence. It spoke, not in words, in pressure, a feeling that pushed into my chest and said, "You opened it, now you stay." I tried to step back, but my legs didn't move. The floor was gone, or maybe it had become part of me. The room stretched, melted, like I was inside a thought, and it was thinking back. Time didn't move forward anymore. Seconds stretched like chewing gum. I watched a drop of water fall slowly, like it had to decide if it wanted to hit the floor. Then a voice, real this time, not loud, just a whisper in my ear. "You stayed too long." Everything snapped back. The room, the air, my legs. I was still standing in front of the locker. The key, gone. The number 0, faded. The light, dead. I ran. I didn't look back, out the hallway, past the gate, into the night. I don't remember breathing, just moving like every part of me was screaming silently. I left the town a week later, didn't pack, didn't sell the house, just left. I never told anyone why, and no one asked like they already knew. Now, I don't walk near gyms, I don't go near locker rooms, and when I hear footsteps behind closed doors, I keep walking. I don't look back. Sometimes I dream of the door again, not open, just there, waiting like it never closed properly, like it never wanted to. I wake up at 3:12 a.m. every time, same second, same breath, and for a moment, I swear, I hear a locker creak. If you ever find a door that shouldn't be there, one with no number, no handle, just a feeling, don't open it. Some rooms aren't meant to let go.